Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the Drevo Calibur. This is a mechanical keyboard that also happens to be wireless and Bluetooth enabled. So it's one of the few fairly low cost sub $50 mechanical keyboards that also combines that wireless functionality. It can also be used as a traditional wired keyboard if you just plug in the micro USB port or the cable, which is also used for charging. So you can then plug it into any computer, Mac or PC are both supported. So again, this keyboard sells for $50 on Amazon, and it comes in a few different iterations. So you can get a different color from silver to black, and you can also get a different kind of switch. So the blue switch is the most common kind. It's fairly tactile and responsive, but if you want a more silent operation, you can go for the brown switch. So kind of changing things up, you can also select the red switch, so on and so forth. This is what the packaging looks like. One of the first things that I noticed was how small this keyboard really is, and you'll see that in a moment after I show you guys the design of the Calibur. But again, it really is compact. There's almost no bezel, there's no frame on this, just the keys, and they really did this because it's a wireless keyboard, so it's meant for portability, it's meant for traveling, so you'll really like the form factor here. The side here features some basic information. This is a backlit keyboard, so there are a few lighting effects that you can play around with. Mechanical keyboards, of course, have the benefit of lasting you for years and years down the road, whether you're doing a lot of essay typing, whether you're a writer or you're a computer programmer. It's going to serve you well, much better in both the feeling as well as the longevity than a traditional membrane or island style keyboard. So you can see here that there are a few different modes for the lighting effects, including a ripple, a wave, a breathing mode, reactive mode, so you tap on it and the keys will light up, so on and so forth. It's a 71 key keyboard, which means that it's missing some of the other more fancy keys like the num keys. It's a 5-row keyboard. Again, I'll show you that in a moment, but here are some additional specifications for the weight. You can see it's fairly lightweight as well. There's a few metal components. It's mainly made out of plastic, and the Bluetooth here is fairly standard. The range is around 10 meters or so, and after you charge it up, you'll get roughly, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks of usage after you need to recharge it again, and the process just takes about 3 hours to completely charge up. So in here, there is a few things to get. There's a micro USB cable, both for charging as well as acting as the wired connection. And there's also a keycap remover, which allows you to pop off the individual keys so that you can maybe repair them, wash them off if they get dirty, so on and so forth. And finally, there's an instruction guide printed in full color, which is actually pretty useful. It tells you how to set things up, including the various keys for changing the lighting effects, recording if you're in a gameplay setting, or also turning the Bluetooth and pairing it on and off. So here is the actual Calibur keyboard, and you can see that again it is a pretty compact mechanical keyboard as far as keyboards are concerned. So if I have a brief demo, I guess, of size comparison, again, this is a standard micro USB cable, right? So this is the entire length of the keyboard is less than a micro USB cable. So you can really imagine how compact this is if I put my hands kind of over it, whereas a traditional keyboard might additionally have a palm rest and, you know, larger bezels along the sides that takes up extra room and space. So again, it's made entirely out of plastic for the actual keys, but the design here is actually pretty nice. You have some standard keys here that's also meant for turning on the Windows 10 or Windows 8. And in addition, there are some standard kind of numeric keys on the very top here, and these three are the pairing for Bluetooth. So you would tap on the function key and then tap on all of these three keys simultaneously to start the pairing mode. It's going to flash for a few seconds, and they can set it up with any Bluetooth-enabled smartphone or computer or tablet. Otherwise, you can see here there's also additional keys for changing the brightness controls as well, and some other ones for dedicated gaming usage, which you can customize. And finally, there's some standard arrow keys, which also dubs as kind of changing the brightness, the luminance, if you want to do a more precise arrangement of that. So on the back here, you can see that the base plate is made out of plastic, again, just to make things really lightweight for traveling purposes. And there are rubber feet, which prevents the keyboard from sliding around on a surface or a desk, and in addition to 2 kickstands, which allows you to pop up the keyboard at a more comfortable angle for actual typing for longer periods of time. There's also the aforementioned micro USB port, both for charging and for a wired connection. It's not exactly centered, but not that big of a deal. Obviously, we would have preferred the cable included to be a flat ribbon wire or to be a braided cable just to make the longevity a little bit better, but it's not too bad here, and you can definitely use it. And if I pop up one of the keys here just to show you guys what it looks like underneath, so just apply a little bit of force to pop off we see that indeed underneath there is that blue switch, and of course this is a mechanical keyboard, which means that you don't have to apply the full amount of force on a key for the button to be registered. You just have to tap on it very lightly, and then the switch itself does most of the action and most of the work, which is a nice thing about mechanical keyboards. It saves you a little bit of time and a little bit of effort when you're typing out longer words and maybe essays. So if we pop this back on, again, the process is pretty easy to swap out, to wash, as well as to repair. So now let's give you guys a quick demo of what it looks like once we kind of plug things in, if you're charging or if you're using it in the wired mode. Same thing with the Bluetooth. There's not too much of a lag, so it does work fairly well. We didn't have any issues in terms of pairing and connectivity with a few Android phones we tested it with. We also tried pairing it with an iPad, and it worked flawlessly. So iOS devices are also supported nicely here. So if we just tap this on, you can see that plug it in, you can see that automatically the lights have turned on, and it has kind of interesting layout arrangement of lights by default, where we have kind of the green keys on the sides for the controls, for caps lock, for tab, insert, control, alt, and then for the actual keyboard part, it's mostly purple with the exception of A, S, D, and W, which are typically used as gaming controls. So for some games, you'll be using your fingers here, so it's better positioned and you can find it a bit more easily. And then same thing on the side here, there's a red controls for the, and this is what the keyboard looks like when you're typing in a completely dark environment. You can see that it's definitely a pretty cool effect. It casts a nice amount of glow, so you can still see everything when you're typing out, let's say, essays or gaming in the dark. So pretty cool all in all. One of the limitations of having such a petite keyboard, though, is some keys are inevitably cut off. So for instance, there isn't a function key on the left-hand edge anymore. You only get that one on the right, which isn't a big deal, but if you do have a larger keyboard that you're used to typing on, this is an adjustment that you need to make. Some other things like function keys have been also hidden onto a second row. You can see there, F1 all the way to F12. So some other things to just quickly point out. So going through the lighting modes again, we tap on function, and then we can tap on delete. So all the way up here, and that can change to a full backlight mode, so we can switch colors between red, green, or blue, yellow, purple, cyan, white, or black by pressing individual keys. So kind of interesting. Again, you can see the full spectrum of colors that you have access to. So unlike a lot of other cheaper mechanical keyboards with backlight support, this one does have full number of lights under each of the individual keys, as opposed to kind of preset lights where you can only have one type of LED making up the entire rainbow colored keyboard. So here you can actually switch the colors for each individual key, which is pretty nice to see. So pressing on end, we can turn on the effects for the auto display mode. So we can do function and then end, and that allows us to kind of go through this default setting. You can see that there are rainbow colored keys going through each of the individual roles, and it will cycle back and forth. So this is a pretty cool effect. So it will make for a nice, I guess, conversation starter, but not the most practical if you are typing or gaming under darker environments, because you can't see too much. But this goes through, again, display modes and shows off the effects of the keyboard. So now it's going back and forth between kind of this wave pattern. So if we tap on function plus insert, that's going to manually switch between different effects like the snake, the wave, the ripple, radioactive. So if we tap on, again, function and insert, so there we go. We have the first one, you can see here, rainbow colored. Tap on this again, and this one seems to be the radioactive one where I tap on individual keys and it will light up correspondingly. So this is a pretty cool effect. See, that's what it looks like. Function insert again, and now we have the same effect but for individual rows as opposed to spreading out in a pond-like ripple. And then of course again we have a radioactive mode where I can tap on something, it will light up for a few seconds and then slowly fade away, which is also pretty cool. And this also works with the spacebar, which you can see there's a slight luminescence to it as well, so you can still see it under darker environments. Function insert one more time, and pretty similar, but this one kind of changes the color and makes the effect a bit larger, but the same idea is being implemented here. And that's basically most of the effects that you'll find here. And other things, you can tap on function plus PU key on the top here for starting to record. So it records the keys you've pressed, which could be helpful if you're gaming or want to remember your moves that you've made. And again, you can tap on function up and down to change the light intensity as well. So changing the brightness controls, especially if you're using Bluetooth to maybe save on battery life, would be a good thing if you are typing for longer periods of time. So as far as the typing experience is concerned, again, this one does feel pretty good. It's a blue switch keyboard. It's not using the highest quality of switches out there. I believe it's just made by a Chinese OEM here, but it feels very responsive. It does work quite well. It's a blue switch, so there is a bit of background sound. You will definitely hear it when you're typing. There's an audible click to it, which personally I like, but if you are using this in a tighter environment like shared rooms with other people in a dorm, if you're traveling, there might be a bit of ambient noise to be aware of, especially since this is a Bluetooth model, so it's meant for portability, so something that really quickly to point out. Otherwise, it does work very well. It took me just a few minutes to get adjusted with the overall layout of this keyboard. Again, it's a full-size keyboard, but some of the controls and some of the keys here and there have been taken out, so it takes a bit of acclimation. That's the only part. Otherwise, it didn't have any issues with the size and the form factor here, and it's a plug-and-play solution, so you just plug it into your computer and it will work automatically. Pairing again with your phone or tablet doesn't have any issues either, and it works fairly well. Just be aware that with all the lighting effects turned on, it will obviously drain the battery faster than with it turned off. So at the end of the day, I have to say that this particular mechanical keyboard, the Drevo Calibur, is pretty unique because it's low cost. It's sub $50, and at this price point, you know, it's rare to even find a mechanical keyboard, nonetheless one with full Bluetooth wireless support, in addition to, you know, lighting effects that is very flexible for each of the individual keys. So there's a lot going for it. It's not the perfect keyboard just because some of the keys have been shifted around. The layout has been tweaked just to enhance the portability, and to make it portable, it's also very lightweight, which means not a lot of metal components that we tend to associate with being really high quality and durable. But aside from those a few quirks, I think this is really worth the money, especially if you're looking for a wireless mechanical keyboard at a very low price point. So you can check out more details about this in our official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the Calibur wireless mechanical keyboard.